I lied to my fiancé about my past intimate experiences and the things I've done with other guys, but after we ran into my ex at my friend's housewarming party and my ex sent him a video of something we intimately did together in the past, my fiancé doesn't trust me anymore and wants me to report my ex to the police, but I don't want to. Posted by you/thrower434. I, 33F, met my fiancé Dan, 30M, 4 years ago when I moved to a new city for work. I quite literally ran into him as he was getting coffee and ruined his shirt and jacket. I, mortified, offered to pay for the dry cleaning costs and gave him my number to contact me with the bill. About a week later, he sent me a message really politely asking if this was the lady who had dyed his shirt mocha, and we got to texting about how much the bill was and how he'd wanted to be paid back for it. I'll preface this by saying when I ran into him, he was extremely calm about what had happened and laughed and said not to worry about it, but he'll definitely take my number just in case he wanted to spring for the one-day return. He was so charming about the whole situation that I can't remember if I was red from embarrassment of the situation or of how he was so smooth with talking to me. I don't know why, but it was easy to talk to him. After a few days, he asked me out to get food and I agreed. I don't know if that was a date, but we both got to know each other and I ended up getting a huge crush on him and wanted to spend more time with him. After our third time eating together, he said, "I really like spending time with you. Would you like to go on a date this weekend?" I nearly jumped into his arms. I replied, "I was waiting for you to ask," and I could feel the biggest smile on my face. 2 months into dating, I realized we hadn't kissed properly once. He pecked me on the cheek a few times and kissed my forehead, but he had never kissed me on the lips. I brought this up, and he told me he had never kissed a girl before and that he never had a real girlfriend, and the last one he had was when he was 14 and he said it didn't really count. I asked about her, and he told me she moved because of her dad's job and that he still keeps in touch. I asked him why he never had a girlfriend and that I was surprised about him and never would have expected this. He told me that he asked a girl out when he was 16 and she made fun of him to her friends, and it really messed with his self-confidence and how he viewed himself. During university, he tried asking girls out and tried talking to them, but nothing ever really came of it. He tried online dating, he got matches, but they either ghosted or never started talking. When he turned 24, he basically said screw it, and he was going to do whatever he wanted and put getting a relationship on the back burner. I, on the other hand, have had a fair number of partners. I wanted to communicate this to him, so after we went out, I sat down with him and told him about me and my history with relationships. He was initially taken back a bit, and then asked if I was serious about him. I told him, of course I am, why would I not be? He said that this might cause some insecurities in himself and said he would talk to his closer friends about this, leaving out my history, and we were able to move forward. After a year of us dating, Dan asked if we could explore in the bedroom, and I asked what he meant by that. He asked if we could be more adventurous and add things to our sex life, like dirty talk, more oral on my part. Most of the time when we have sex, he goes down on me, potentially backdoor play, and that he wanted to record us one time to see what it was like. I lied and said I had no interest in exploring our sex lives, and I was happy with how it was. I was very happy with how it was. He then asked if I had done any of these things with someone else. I again lied and said no. He then hugged me and said, "Okay, I understand, I love you." The truth is that I had done all of these with my ex, Steven. Steven and I were together until 6 months before I met Dan. I had found out he had been cheating on me with multiple women. Steven himself wasn't abusive, but he was a stereotypical F-boy. He had no real direction in life, was impulsive, lacked the ability to think for the future, and was immature. But for some reason, he was addicting. Every time he'd message me, I'd respond straight away, and when he asked to do these things and more, I did so willingly. Last Friday, I got a message from my friend Monica saying she was having a house party to celebrate her and her husband buying their first home together and invited me and Dan. Dan has met all of my friends, and they all adore him. They always say how lucky I am to have him as my boyfriend and now fiancé, and I always agree with them. At this party, I saw Steven. I asked Monica why he was here, and she said, "We're all friends here, it's not like anything is going to happen, you've met Steven's new girlfriend." Dan hadn't met Steven before, but I had talked about him in passing. Not talking about him fully, just that my ex is Steve and we're in the same friend circle, but we're not really close. When we got to Monica's, we had the tour of the house and then ended up in the kitchen talking with everyone. Monica's husband, Jordan, recently got a promotion, and the guys were talking about their work, and I could see Steven look uncomfortable. He has been in the same job for nearly a decade and hasn't been able to transfer or train for another position. After a while, the guys went into Jordan's den to play some pool, and Steven came back and started to talk to me. He asked what job Dan had and how we met. We talked for a bit and caught up with each other, and then Dan came up and asked if I was ready to go. After saying goodbye, I saw Dan and Steven talking, and they ended up shaking hands, and we left. On Saturday, Dan came into the room and asked if I had said anything to Steven about me or our relationship. I said that I didn't. Then he said, well, why would he send me this? It was a video of me performing a certain act on Steve very enthusiastically and a few other videos of me doing sexual acts with him. I tried to talk to him, and he said that he doesn't want to talk to me right now, and he will talk to me when he's ready. He then said I should file a police report against Steven for sharing videos against my will. Since then, I've tried to cuddle him, and he shrugged me off. I tried to talk to him again yesterday, and he asked again if I had filed a report. I told him I didn't want to and that I wanted to talk about it, and he said he wasn't ready yet. I have messaged Steven and my close friends, and they've all kicked him out of the group and have contacted his girlfriend about what he has done. He has not tried to contact me or anyone else, as far as I know. I am not interested in filing a report on Steven. I don't know how to bring this up to my fiancé. I am not ashamed of my past, but I am embarrassed that he found out this way. /relevant comments. Commenter. Yeah, big red flag to me that you don't want to file a report against Steven, and you lied about being interested in things that he would have liked to do. You even said you lied, so I don't understand why you said that to him. Seems you're still impartial to Steve, and Dan is trying to give you a chance to prove that you don't. File the report and get it over with. This is seriously messed up. Steve did that, and it's weird to me you don't want to file a report or make it be known Steve is the kind of person to do that. He deserves to get in trouble for something like that, if he can, depending where you are, but the fact you're not immediately taking action to comfort Dan after this besides cuddles is an issue. Commenter 2. I'm going to be a prick and possibly get downvoted to the 7th circle of Reddit hell, but as I see that everyone is only commenting on, you should press charges, and that you are not obligated to have sexual acts with your fiancé you don't want to, and that you should not apologize to him. I think somebody should also tell you that what you did was very wrong, and you made your fiancé feel like crap, and you probably killed your relationship. I would break up with anyone who did the same thing as you. First, I want to tell you that you don't need to do anything you don't want to, and yes, please go to the police about your ex. This comment is not about that, it is about how your fiancé probably sees the whole situation. You lied to him about the sex acts, and worse, you did it as a way to turn him down and not explore sexual things with him. All that is in his mind now is that he is not good enough for you to do the same things you did with your ex, and worse, you did it enthusiastically but not with him. He is not good enough for you to try the same things with. Honestly, this would be enough for me to go my separate way, because I want to be with somebody who wants to do the same things with me, and if there is something I want to do and she doesn't, that's okay. But you lied, and he found out you like to do those things, again just not with him. By the way, why are you with him? Just because he makes a good salary and is a stable guy? Are you even attracted to him? I mean, I would understand no backdoor play or some more extreme stuff, but keeping it very vanilla, not even oral. Yeah. I imagine your fiancé is asking himself exactly these questions now and is realizing something is very wrong here. He is feeling very emasculated. He probably thinks that you are not attracted to him at all and you have other reasons for staying with him, and not because you love him and want him, which apparently you don't. I mean, you were more enthusiastic in describing your ex and how addictive he was and how you could not say no to him, but you had no problem saying no to your fiancé. Again, why are you with this guy? And to top it off, he advised you to go to the police. He was right, by the way, but no, you wanted to protect your ex. Even your friends agreed with him and dropped your ex, but again no. Why should you do anything that upsets your addictive ex? Who knows, maybe in the future. Right? You see where I am going? This is probably what your fiancé thinks. Is he correct? Probably not, but now he knows he can't trust you to tell him the truth, and all that is going through his mind is, what is the real reason you want to marry him? Trust me, no one wants to hear, yeah, I am not attracted to you, sex with you is a chore or just a bone I'm throwing you to get you off my back. So I don't want to try anything new or that would involve more sex I need to give you. I want to be with you because you are a good provider and very stable. If you want to fix this with your fiancé, you need to have a real discussion with him, explain why you want it and were very enthusiastic to do anything for your ex, but don't want to do it with him or even try new things. Honestly, I have no idea how you can spin this to make him feel better, so maybe you should seek couples therapy and get the help of a professional to navigate this situation. Update 2 days later. I asked Dan to sit down with me to talk about what happened. I told him that I wanted him to feel safe enough to talk about how he was feeling about what had happened, and that I wanted to explain the relationship I had with Steven. I asked why he didn't want to talk sooner, and he said that he was thinking things over and wanted to beat the crap out of Steven. His friends talked him down and basically said to let it go and focus on filing a report to ensure there were legal repercussions. I started by saying how much I loved him and our relationship, and how I don't think him shutting me out is helping either of us. I said I was wrong to lie about my past and that I should have offered that information when he asked, with an explanation as to why I didn't want to do such acts with him. He then asked why I didn't just tell him this when he asked to explore more in the bedroom. I replied that I thought it would be better, given your insecurities about my experience and your past. I feel like it would have caused resentment on your part because I had done these things before, but not with you. You have to understand I did these things when I was younger and wanted validation. He said he would have understood that, and if I didn't enjoy it I should have just said so. I said it wouldn't have ended like that, and brought up what happened when we first got together and I told him about my dating history. He then replied with I took 2 days to talk to my close friends about the relationship, and it wasn't the fact you had past partners which caused an issue. It's normal for people to have had exes. I was the outlier for being a virgin. My insecurity came from the fact you said for the past 8 months you were only looking for casual relationships, and I didn't want that. I wanted an actual relationship. The fact you lied about what you were like in bed makes me feel like crap. It also makes me question how honest you were with me about other things in the relationship. I hugged him and told him I was willing to explore with him, and that I realized how much pain I had caused him. He said he didn't want to. How it is now, us exploring isn't out of a genuine desire from you, it's the fact you got caught out in a lie and are trying to save face. I started crying and said how sorry I was to screw all of this up, and that I'd be happy to go down on him more and that I do find him attractive. I went on to say that when he asked for exploration, I was taken back a bit. I saw our love as wholesome and pure, and that by adding these types of sex acts, I thought he'd think less of me. He held me tighter and said, "Why would I do that? Do you know how happy I would have been if I had you doing this stuff with me?" I asked him to go to couples counseling with me and that I'd pay for it. He agreed under one condition, that I give back his ring and we were no longer engaged. I don't think I've ever felt so hurt. He said he still loves me, but this hiccup has seriously shaken his trust in me, and that he thinks that us being engaged adds a level of pressure to the both of us. Going back to just boyfriend/girlfriend will help alleviate some of the pressure from outside and allow us to focus on healing, rather than dealing with everyone asking us when the wedding is and how married life is going to be like. I told my parents that we're no longer engaged and said that we've hit a few road bumps and want to focus on us. They said they were sorry to hear about my relationship troubles and that they are always there for both of us, and are happy to talk to us if anything gets heated. They also said they've been together and happy for 23 years, so they might know a thing or two. I will be going to the police station tomorrow with Dan, and we will be filing a report against Steven for revenge porn. Dan has a few friends in law, and one of them, who is a woman, has significant experience in sexual assault and has dealt with these situations before. She is a close friend of Dan, and I've been able to trust her with sensitive information before, so I feel safe trusting her with this information. If she cannot represent me, she said she would put me in contact with a few of her colleagues to make sure Steven gets what he deserves. I'm going to start individual counseling to understand why I did those acts with Steven and why I froze up and lied when Dan asked me to do the same. I truly love him and want to be able to satisfy him and live out both of our fantasies. I asked him again if he was sure on not doing those things right now, and he said if he went through with it, he'd feel like another Steven. Once I'm ready, he'd love to explore with me. I messaged Monica and asked why Steven was invited to the party, and she said that ever since I broke up with him, she's invited both to everything, and that it hasn't been an issue before. She then asked if Steven had tried to contact me and said that he's been dumped by his girlfriend, and she ended up breaking a bunch of his stuff in the argument they had. She apologized about all this, and she thought everyone got along well at the party and didn't know what set Steven off, and that I don't have to worry about him being around anymore. I asked Dan what he and Steve were talking about, and he said they were talking about work. Dan works in fintech and makes good money, and Steven had an interest in finance. They were talking about the qualifications Steven would need to get a job in the field. Dan offered his number and said he could help him with some of the qualifications and get him connected with a few people. This infuriated me even more. Dan isn't a bad person, and I knew he would never do anything to belittle or hurt anyone. The fact Steven did this after Dan offered to help him has confirmed that he really is a piece of crap, and he has, hopefully, what's coming to him with the lawsuit. It's going to be a long road, but Dan and I have our first counseling session on Monday, and I hope we are able to move past this and get married someday. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I started crying and said how sorry I was to screw all of this up, and that I'd be happy to go down on him more, and that I do find him attractive. For a very long time after this, if you two remain together, He will always doubt whether you are actually doing those sexual acts because you enjoy being intimate and sharing yourself completely with him, or because he thinks you feel obligated to do them, which makes those special acts lackluster. Hopefully you'll both be able to get over this. No more lies, Op. Even a small lie will send the relationship back to where it was after he found out about all the things that you did enthusiastically with your ex Steven. Op's downvoted response. Thank you. We will be going to counseling on Monday. Hopefully, we will be able to move past this, and he can open up to me again. I don't want to lose him. Downvoted commenter 2. Man, people are really dogpiling Op in a way that seems pretty unfair here. If Steven had never sent the videos, and Op was allowed to continue setting her own sexual boundaries, would anyone have seen it as a problem? She engaged in sex acts that she didn't ever want to do again, with a partner who filmed and saved the footage of those acts. Later, when she was in a healthy relationship and setting boundaries that she was happier with, her evil ex sent her fiancé that footage with no intention of doing anything other than throwing a grenade into her life. Op's partner even shared that they have their own hang-ups regarding intimacy from past experiences. I don't know, I just can't imagine my partner treating me this way if we were in this situation. Edit to add, I have to reply to myself because I am so confused? Why does Op owe Dan these sex acts just because she's done them in the past? I was with a manipulative guy who got me to engage in some really corny sex stuff that I never want to do again, especially with the love of my life, current partner. I literally cannot imagine him being upset with me over not wanting to engage in degrading acts just because I did when I was 19. This is so confusing. Op's downvoted response. He said it really doesn't have to do with the acts, it's the fact I lied about doing them and didn't offer an alternative. Looking at our sex life, I have been extremely selfish. It's because he is the first guy I've been with who really cared about getting me off, and I took advantage of that. I felt as if I let him do what he wanted, it would have shifted how he viewed sex with me. Commenter 3. This is a gross update to your original post. Offering more and different kinds of sex to fix trust broken because of a lie about sex is the absolute wrong way to go about fixing things. This relationship is toast, and I hope Dan gets some peace. Second update 5 months later. Steven had his initial court hearing today, and as far as I know, he will be taking a guilty deal. This won't cause him to go to jail, but according to my lawyer, he will be placed on the sex offenders registry for a year. Things are a bit slower with Dan, but we are both still going to counseling together, and I am still going to an individual counselor. Third update 2 weeks later. Since my last post, I have been attending individual counseling and couples counseling with my boyfriend Dan. Counseling has made me realize that my past behavior towards sex and intimacy was not healthy, and I tied a portion of my self-worth to sex and how my partner viewed me in a sexual light. Through working with my counselor, I have now been able to understand that I am able to say no and set firm boundaries. In doing so, I am not showing people different levels of love, but that I have grown as a person and now have new values and goals. Since counseling, Dan and I have been able to go back to some level of normalcy in our relationship. Our sex life has been a lot better too, we are able to communicate what we want a lot more effectively, and I feel closer now to Dan than I have before. Dan asked about doing more adventurous things in the bedroom, and we had a long conversation about my boundaries. I have made it clear that I don't want to do those acts. He was very understanding, and we left the conversation there. On Monday, he asked if we could sit down and talk. I thought the worst, that he was going to break up with me, but instead he asked if I would consider an open relationship. I initially was very angry and asked if he was cheating on me or was planning to sleep with someone. He handed me his phone and said I knew his password to everything, so I can check anytime I want. I asked him what brought this on, and he said that he has a lot of fantasies that he wants to do in the bedroom. He fully respects that I don't want to be a part of them and that he still loves me, but he wants to be able to fulfill these before being married or engaged again. He said that it would go both ways, and that if I wanted to sleep with someone else, he would be okay with it with a few exceptions. As for ground rules, he said no exes or flings. I fully understand this, and even if this was on the table, there is nobody in my past that I want to be with. Protection is a must, again this would be obvious, and that we are open with each other, that if it gets too much or we have a night where we're going out but the other partner wants us to stay at home, we honor that, within reason, i.e. asking at the start of the day if they can stay at home for the night, not as they are getting ready. I am currently on the fence, as I don't want to be with anyone else. I am fully satisfied with our relationship and our sex life, but I know Dan wants to explore more. In terms of being emotionally intimate, I feel as if we have gotten a lot closer throughout the whole ordeal. I do have some reservations, and that may come from a place of insecurity. That is, Dan might find someone else while in this open agreement and leave me. Though he has assured me that he loves me and isn't going to leave me for someone else, I can't stop worrying about it. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. As a guy, I'll tell you what's going on. He knows you don't desire him. You have the thrill of doing stuff with a guy you don't love, but not with a guy you love. He will never let that go, even if he never brings it up again. It's just a logical thing for us guys to not feel as if we are being settled for. He doesn't see you in the same light, possibly not as a wife or mother to his kids after seeing those videos. Since you were his first, he's keeping you as a placeholder until he finds someone who enthusiastically wants him in bed. Once he finds someone sexually compatible, it's just a matter of time until the lady locks him down. If any of his buddies know and he has some self-respect, he is definitely not marrying you. You should really end this and find someone you are at least sexually attracted to. Downvoted commenter 2. He wants to act single. Now make him single. Ops downvoted response. Yeah, that'd be great if I didn't love him. Commenter 3. You don't love him. That's the point. Why are you even with him? You're not attracted to him. You're not turned on by him. You're not in love with him. You love him in the same way a woman loves her gay male friend. You only love him because he fulfills all of your non-sexual needs. That is the only reason you're with him. Editor's note. Ops' last post was made in October 2022, 3 years ago, and she hasn't made any new updates since. It's unknown what happened later in her relationship, or if she or Dan eventually broke it off with each other. Probably?